everyone. Welcome to our next episode of Dragon Age Origins. Where we left off, we had just finished making the appearance for our protagonist, Gil Dabrowska. And where we left off, I was picking her voice that she'll use in combat. Now, this is an older RPG made by Bioware, so we have a silent protagonist with a list format of dialogue choices, and since this is a Let's Play, I will be reading those dialogue choices and actually doing maybe a little bit of acting, sort of portraying the character as I hope to portray them. That sounds a little redundant. Anyway, for voices you can pick for most characters, you can pick wise.
No, it is gone.
Cocky, experienced,
how do you do?
Smart,
Greetings.
or mystical in the case of humans and elves. Sultry,
Greetings.
or suave
Charmed.
if you're male, and violent.
Greetings.
For this playthrough, I'm going to pick cocky because it's my favorite voice for most characters. For some reason, there's a bug in the game that makes this voice unavailable for human females. The records are, the recordings are still in the game files, but somehow there's no access to it. So, with a lot of characters, I tend to pick this voice since it's kind of exclusive to elf and dwarf females. And my elven male mage also has this voice, and he looks and sounds really cool. Like, yeah, you want a piece of me? Well, I have a lightning bolt waiting to strike you in the face! Anyway, cocky it is.
How do you do?
Yes, how do you do indeed. So, we're done with appearances, and we've picked our character's voice. So, we're moving on to the next step, which is distributing our attributes. If you're a warrior, your points tend to get poured into strength, dexterity, and constitution, and you also get a bonus for your race. Since dwarves can't be mages, they don't really get any bonuses to anything magic related, which would be your willpower, which determines stamina or mana, and then magic, which, of course, since dwarves can't be mages, it's pretty much utterly useless to invest any points in that. In Dragon Age Origins, if you're a warrior, you're actually pretty flexible as to what type of weapons you can use. There's 4 different weapon styles. There's two-handed weapons, which are like axes, great swords. There's one-handed weapon and shield, which is like your long sword and maybe a big shield. The name kind of says it all. There's archery, which is a weapon style that warriors share with rogues in this game, and as it might sound, it's bow and arrows, crossbows, that sort of thing. And in martial styles, the other one that they share with rogues is dual wielding, where you can wield 2 weapons at once. I'm actually going to play a dual wielding warrior, since it's something that at least for now is kind of exclusive to Origins, since in Dragon Age 2 they took out the warrior's ability to do archery or dual wielding, which I think is kind of silly, but that's just my opinion. So, dual wielding basically requires a high dexterity, so we're going to spend a few points in dexterity. We're going to spend 2 points in, and then we're going to spend our remaining points in cunning, or rather I'm going to spend my remaining points in cunning, and I'll explain that in just a second. The next thing you do is pick your skills, which which is something exclusive to Origins for now. I don't know if the third game will have this or not. It's supposed to be announced sometime this year, hopefully. We at least know there is going to be a third game. We just don't really know much about it. If you're a Dwarven Commoner, you get stealing automatically. And if you're a warrior or a rogue, you automatically get combat training. If you're a mage, you get herbalism, which I don't use. I usually have the NPC in my party take care of that for me. And then you've got survival, trap making, poison making, combat tactics. This is more useful for your NPC characters in your party. Poison can be pretty useful if you want to invest points in that. Survival is useful for some side quests. Trap making isn't really useful except early in the game there's a side quest where you can make traps and get money for that. Anyway, I'm going to go with improved combat training, since with warriors and rogues you kind of need the skill in order to learn new weapon talents, which is very critical to combat. Now that is probably one of the most important skills in the game, and you kind of need to know it. The next thing that you kind of want to know if you want to get the best results in the game, also role-playing wise, is coercion, which gives you a giant bonus to persuasion and intimidate checks, which is basically has a threshold of 25, 50, 100 at the maximum. And what each point does is it adds a plus 25 bonus, and that is in addition to whatever points you invest into strength if you're doing an intimidate check, or cunning if you're doing a persuasion check. And you're required to have at least 16 cunning to get all the points, and that's how far I'm going to invest in the skill. Now, you would think you'd want to take coercion right away, and most of the time, if you're playing any character and don't have any special DLC, I would recommend take coercion right away, unless you're City Elf, because you get that automatically. But I do have some DLC that I get for being a member of the Bioware social network, which will give me an extra skill point when I actually start up the game. So let's see, we're doing, and this is the dual wielding tree. We're going to go with dual wielding training so that we get a bonus to that. And then we're going to take powerful from the generic warrior tree, because you can move faster and you get more hit points, and if you're a warrior, having lots of hit points is very important. And we don't really need any active abilities yet, like flurry, dual striking, that sort of thing. So let's just do a couple of passive abilities. And the last thing you do in character creation is select your difficulty level. Difficulty level doesn't actually affect dialogue or role-playing. What it does is it affects how tough enemies are in combat. Generally, when you open up the game for the first time, it has you set to normal, which is for most players. Interestingly enough, on the PC version, there is a difference between normal on that and normal on this, probably because difference between console and PC, because there's more precision on PC. On the PC, your party is in danger of taking friendly fire, which means, like, for example, if you can accidentally hit them with a spell or a special ability, and they'll get hurt. But on the console version, normal, your party is immune to friendly fire, just like the casual mode for both the console version and the PC version. Now, I'm going to play this on casual difficulty, just so I can focus more on commenting on the story, on characters, on role-playing characteristics. I will give general tips about maybe playing on higher difficulties if you're interested. If you want to know about that, let me know. Or tips about combat in general in certain sections of the game. But since I'm more into the role-playing aspect, I'm going to play on casual. That's not to say I haven't played on harder difficulty. I've actually played through on hard difficulty, and I actually managed to make it. It was a very difficult journey, but I'm very happy to have done it. So, let's actually start this up shortly. Shall we? Loading. Loading, loading. I am a loading screen, and I'm here to take up more of your time. Hi, loading screen. Can you please, move aside? We actually want to start the game now. Seriously? On the other hand... Oh, here we go.
Deep beneath the Frostback Mountains sits Orzammar, largest and proudest of the two remaining dwarven cities. Once the seat of an underground empire, Orzammar now stands alone, cut off from the world by the Darkspawn, still clinging to the memory of its former glory. Below the vast statues and gilded halls where the noble families play at politics, the lower castes live in their shadows, scurrying to serve like their ancestors before them. Below that is you. You are casteless, the dirty secret staining Orzammar's perfect society, forced, along with your sister, to sell your services to the crime lord Barat. To the rest of Orzammar, you are proof that the casteless deserve their fate. But you know you do what you have to, the same as everyone, just to survive.
I can't keep gambling on you forever, Precious. You've got a sweet look, something to light a man on fire. But you gotta make it count.
Please, Barat. I don't want to do this in front of my sister.
Why not? She knows the slope of the land, don't you, girl?
Didn't I tell you not to talk that way to my sister?
You told me a lot of things, not one of which meant more than a fart in the middens. Before me, your sister was just another duster. Now check her out. Braids down to here, gold-capped teeth. She can recite elf poetry and play the string harp. Every man's dream. All she's got to do is find a lord, squeeze out some kid who looks like him, and we're all living the easy life in the Diamond Quarter.
Please, don't get involved. You know that never goes well.
I don't like to see him treating you that way.
I'll treat her however I like, as long as you both eat off my plate. You keep your head down and say aye to any job I decide is low enough for scum like you. In return, I put out coins so you can doll yourself up and get a belly full of some nobleman's brat. Then you both go free, and I get to join the family and be called my lord for the rest of the little prince's life.
And her son will call you uncle and come visit on name days.
That's what everyone likes. A casteless with a big mouth. But I didn't come for the joy of your company. I've been looking at my investments, and this one hasn't borne much gold. I'm giving you another week, Precious. If you haven't found a patron, you're back to sweeping streets.
But I have. I've met someone. That is, I didn't want to promise, but he seemed interested.
See? She's found someone. In fact, get off her back and tell me for today what my job is. So get off her back and tell me my job for today.
Your buddy Lesky's waiting outside. He knows what I'll need from you today. Don't even think about bungling this job. Your whole family's on loose sand with me right now. And I know you don't have anywhere else to turn.
I'm sorry you had to see that.
Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time here, so I'm going to cut off the video here. And, sorry for bungling up the role-playing a bit. I'll try to be better the next time. I will see you guys on the next episode of Let's Play Dragon Age Origins, Dwarf Commoner Edition.